The future of cryptocurrency, however, a bit more uncertain.
Two major cryptocurrencies went into free fall today after South Korean authorities raided exchanges over alleged tax evasion. The government of South Korea says it plans to ban cryptocurrency trading. Bitcoin dropped 10% today.
Here at home, billionaire investor Warren Buffett delivered an ominous warning, quote, cryptocurrencies will come to a bad end, he said. So we're joined now by two people who are experts in the concept of virtual money.
Jeff Ransdell is the former head of Merrill Lynch for Florida and the Caribbean. He now runs Rocker Fuel, Rocker 3 Fuel, a hedge fund heavily embedded in the crypto Bitcoin world.
And Nabyl Charaina is the CEO at Rocker Labs, who can explain how it all works for us.
Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Nice to have you guys here. Okay, so I'll start with the simple question of the day, which is how does it really all work? Because a lot of us are still kind of struggling to keep up with it and understand how it works.
I think the simplest way to explain it is just using the old concept of money, which is where everybody goes, and just imagine it in a digital world, right? So the idea of me being able to send you $1 through a digital system is the basis of how digital currencies work. The difference is, as opposed to real money, where you need someone like a bank to authorize and say this was the actual transaction, all the cryptocurrencies are based on what we call a digital distributed ledger. So the fact that I sent you 1 Bitcoin is stamped on all the computers around the world that are on the network, so there's a proof that what I sent you is actually real, and you don't need a bank to do it. It's decentralized. And that's what's making this really attractive to the global marketplace.
Jeff, let me ask you about what happened today in Seoul, Korea, and that has a lot of people taking a step back and listening to what Warren Buffett said, that this will end badly. And he also said, he called this FOMO, fear of missing out. That's why people are so interested in Bitcoin. They really don't understand it. But what do you tell people who say, hey, I don't know anything about this? Why should I put so much money into it?
Well, the first thing I would say is what happened in Korea. And I think that the key thing to remember is that Bitcoin was not created by large infrastructure. It wasn't created by governments, et cetera, et cetera. So what took place is an announcement, but my guess is you'll probably see the markets come back very quickly because it has absolutely very little to do with the larger organization. Therefore, the people who created it, the people who are involved in it, will continue to drive the supply. With respect to the Warren Buffett statement, you know, I have a tremendous amount of respect for Warren Buffett. Obviously, the guy gets it right a lot more than he gets it wrong. What I would say, you take Warren Buffett or you take Jamie Dimon or any of these individuals, I think what they're doing is playing their part in the financial world, which is leadership. This is something new, and I think what they're trying to say is, look, we don't want you to take your life savings and start trading cryptocurrencies because you made a couple dollars yesterday. You need to be working with experts. You need to be working with people who understand this business, be it a tech fund, be it anyone who really has an understanding of the background, your financial advisor, et cetera, et cetera. You shouldn't just be going out and doing this on your own. And I think that's really what it was really about.
So I believe that this is a first. A condo here in this market in Miami was sold, and Bitcoin was the only way that the seller was going to accept payment for this condo. So that's something that was getting a lot of buzz. At the same time that we get ready, the city of Miami, to host the North American Bitcoin Conference, which ironically stopped accepting Bitcoin as payment because of congestion associated with the cryptocurrency. So there's that, but doesn't it sort of underscore the argument that these cryptocurrencies have a lot of kinks that need to still be worked out?
Yeah, I think the core concept around the decentralization or the blockchain that's allowing us to build these cryptocurrencies is that it is what we call an exponential technology. And it is a technology that is continuing to evolve. So it's not fully there yet today, but the basis for what it can do certainly exists. And just like you were saying, the fact that a condo was sold using Bitcoin shows that the world is ready to start using cryptocurrencies as a real exchange of value. So it's not just condos right now. I mean, you can buy a burger right now with Bitcoin, right, or a little bit of it. You can actually transact in the physical world today in a lot of places with cryptocurrency.
And Rick, I would also say to Elliot's question earlier, if you think about this condo, the efficiency of what just took place, the question was to Nabyl, it removes all the middle people that we've always used our entire life. It's gone.
I understand that. I understand that concept of cryptocurrency, removing any middleman, any bank.
Correct.
But what protection do you have paying money to somebody else that you don't know where that money is going?
I think that's part of what the future is going to bring in terms of cryptocurrency. And I think that's also why the governments and the bigger institutions are trying to come in and play their role in terms of regulation, in terms of policy, right? And I think these are the types of things that show you that this marketplace is actually evolving to a point that the governments have to pay attention to.
Wouldn't that defeat the entire purpose?
It would from a regulation perspective, but as Jeff said, the mere fact that it's not one bank or a banking institution that can control how a cryptocurrency functions means by design that it's decentralized.
Everybody has their own sort of level of risk tolerance when it comes to making investments in stocks or in other financial products. What do you think needs to be the sort of tolerance level for someone to jump into this marketplace?
My opinion on that is you always want to sit down with whoever's helping you guide you through, your financial decisions. My humble opinion, a portfolio should be 80% in the traditional stock, bonds, cash, 20% into what I would refer to as alternatives, and then those are maybe 10% of that in the creative economy. Of that 10%, a very small amount into the actual cryptocurrency space.
So all the experts will be here next week on Bitcoin.
Exactly.
They will.
They will.
Rocker Fuel is the company. Jeff and Nabyl, thank you both for coming in.
Thank you for having us.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.